I'm not even going to try and cover up the fact that I shot this video on the same day as another one because I'm wearing the same shirt, but you know what? Let's do it. Intro. Take one. What's up, everyone? Steve here, and the Oscars are right around the corner. They're going to be airing on Sunday, April 25th. I will admit I have not seen every single film that has been nominated for an Oscar for the year 2021, but I have seen all 8 of the Best Picture nominees. I have liked to loved every single one of the nominees this year. Not as much as last year, but you know what? This is still a decent bunch. So I figured I'd rank them from worst to best. Let's not waste any time. Let's start. Now, I have to admit, my number 8 spot, the one that I like the least of the bunch, is Mank. Mank, I don't dislike. I don't think it's a bad film at all. I actually think it's a good film. With that being said, I think that most of the things that make it decent are on the technical side. This is technically speaking a masterpiece. It has amazing cinematography. It has amazing sound, amazing editing, amazing production design. But in terms of characters, and in terms of story, and in terms of actually caring about the people on screen, there's not much there. Pretty much every other film on this list has not necessarily the technical chops, but the character chops and the people you care about on screen. That's why I have to put Mank in my number 8 spot. As much as I love David Fincher, and as much as I love his work, and as much as I love how he basically made this film because his dad wrote a screenplay and his dad died, and he wanted to make his dad's vision come to life. This film I didn't think was as good as the 7 other nominees. Now for number 7, I also really love this film, and I think it's way better than Mank, but I think that I like the other films just a little bit more. And the film that I have to put as number 7 is Minari. I absolutely love Minari, and it's really hard for me to put it this low on the list, but I just happen to like the other 6 more. One of the reasons I love Minari is not just because it has amazing acting and not because it has a really simple story, but because there's something that feels deeply personal about it. What I mean by that is it feels like the director is reflecting back upon his life with a level of fondness, and I absolutely love that feeling that this movie gives. And it's one of those few films where it has something very tragic that happens in the end, but at the same time, at the very end, in the few final frames, it gives you that little glimmer of hope. That's something that's really difficult for a film to achieve, and Minari does it in my opinion. And that's why I'm so sad to put it this low on my list, because I love this film. And number 6 is something that I actually put as number 3 on my top films of 2020 list, but it's definitely moved down after watching the other films. And if you know that list, you know I'm talking about Trial of the Chicago 7. Don't get me wrong, I really like Chicago 7, but it's just not as good as the next ones up. Anytime Aaron Sorkin writes a screenplay, you're gonna have rapid fire dialogue, you're gonna have great pacing, you're gonna have a historically relevant story that's basically brought into something with a little bit of a spin on it that makes it really relevant to things that are going on today. I will admit that the ending is just a little bit too crowd-pleasing. Even though it's not a bad ending, I think it's a little bit too crowd-pleasing compared to what it could have been. I still love Trial of Chicago 7, but I've got to put it at number 6. My number 5 spot is for Judas and the Black Messiah, which is at its core a story about betrayal and one of the biggest betrayals in history. This is a betrayal that was not just by one guy to another, but was from the police force to a man who did not deserve the fate that he got. What happened to Fred Hampton was a stain on the fabric of human history. Like, Fred Hampton did not do anything close to deserving the fate that he got at the hands of the police and at the hands of the federal government. And Fred Hampton is brought to life by one of the best performances of the entire year, and one of my favorite performances in recent memory by Daniel Kaluuya. He absolutely kills it in his role. And even though I think that Kaluuya, gave one of the best performances ever, he's equally matched by Lakeith Stanfield. This is just a really important story, really well told, amazing cinematography all the way through that's not just flashy, but actually complements what's going on and shows it in a really interesting way. This is an absolutely amazing film. Just go watch it. And at number 4, I absolutely loved this film as well. I've got to put Nomadland. Nomadland is an amazingly shot film and has just a really simple story about a woman who decides to say screw it to everyday life and live in a van. And this is probably the absolute best way you could tell that story. It's got that really weird combination of harsh and beautiful. It's got realism and somewhat gritty realism, but it's against this beautiful landscape with all of these really nice things thrown in between. And what's even more amazing is the acting is actually really good, but most of the cast is actual nomads who had never acted before and weren't actors. And somebody commented on my review of Nomadland who basically said he was an extra in the film, and the reason why the performances were real is because effectively they weren't performances. Chloe Zhao, the absolute genius director of this film, basically made such a comfortable environment that she was able to basically just let them be them on screen. While I do not want to downplay the fantastic job that all of the nominees did, if Chloe Zhao doesn't win Best Director, I'm gonna be mad. And moving on to number 3 is a film that I absolutely did not expect to take this spot, Promising Young Woman. Promising Young Woman is my pick for not just my number 3 spot in my favorite films out of the list of Best Picture nominees, but this is literally the most unpredictable film that I have seen this year. It told its story in a very, I don't want to say in your face, because it was in your face, but it also didn't scream its subject matter at the top of its lungs. As a matter of fact, it was very discreet about what it was trying to say. It said it very loudly, but it said it in ways that were also really discreet. Like, there are certain words that you would expect to be all over the place in this film, or a film like this, that are never said once. This film just has so much to say, and it says it beautifully, and it has one of the most unexpected endings that I've seen in recent memory. And I don't mean that in a bad way. And it's one of those odd films where, when I first watched it, I didn't know whether I loved or hated the ending, and now I have to err on the side of really liking the ending. And for that reason, as well as the fantastic cinematography, editing, and performances, especially considering a lot of these performances are in serious roles by people who have, traditionally been comedic actors, this film deserves my number 3 spot. And my number 2 spot is going to shock a lot of people who have watched my videos in the past, because you know that this was my number 1 pick for Best Film of 2020, but it's recently been moved back. My number 2 spot of the Best Picture nominees goes to Sound of Metal. Sound of Metal is a fantastic film that really has a lot to say about the deaf community. And the way it says it is not sugar-coated. It doesn't look down upon deaf people at all. And it doesn't put them up on a pedestal either. It basically says, hey, there's more to life, and your life's not over if you go deaf and if you're hard of hearing. But it doesn't sugarcoat what's happening either. It's got this gritty realism to it, and it's actually really educational because a lot of the film is told in sign language with subtitles. And it's got 2 of the best performances of the entire year, by Riz Ahmed in the lead and by Paul Raci, however you pronounce his name. I've said it very many different ways, and I'm still not sure which way is correct, so I apologize for that, in a supporting role. And this is just all around a fantastic movie, and by far has the best sound design of any of the films in any of the categories. If there's another category where I'll be mad if a film doesn't win, it's Sound of Metal in Best Sound. That film definitely deserves that award over any of the other nominees. Now, my number 1 spot, I recently reviewed this film, and by process of elimination, you can probably figure out what it is, but the reason why this film is my number 1 is probably kind of bias-ridden, because I had a family member who went through something similar to this. my number one pick is The Father. Now, The Father is about a man who's going through dementia, but it's told from his point of view. If there's anybody who could potentially beat Chadwick Boseman for Best Actor, it's Anthony Hopkins in the role in The Father. Now, I think Chadwick Boseman's going to win, and I think he deserves to win. I'll actually be kind of mad if he doesn't, but let's put it this way. If there's anybody who I'd be kind of okay with beating Chadwick Boseman this year, it's Anthony Hopkins, because his performance was really that good. Any other year, I would say that Anthony Hopkins is winning. And the reason why I said I feel a little bit biased as choosing this as my answer is because I had a family member, actually more than one family member, who had dementia. And it's something that I am afraid of ever getting in my life. And basically because of how the film says what it's saying, and because of how devastating it is, I have to put it at my number one spot. It's a movie that I don't know if I'll ever watch again, but it's a movie that I don't know if I'll ever watch again for all of the good reasons why you feel like you would never watch a movie again. In my opinion, The Father is not just the best of these films, but it's my new number one film of the year of 2020. And for that reason, I have to put this at the top of my list. Now, will it win Best Picture? I don't know. My prediction is that Best Picture will probably go to Nomadland, and you know what? Even though it's not my number one, I think it's deserving of that reward. But we'll see what happens. That's all for tonight, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, go ahead and hit that like button. It really helps out with the YouTube algorithm and helps people who don't know about my content but would like to see content like this find my channel easier. And if you're new here and you want to see more content from me, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. And if you really want to be notified when I post a new video instead of just randomly finding them every right now and then, go ahead and hit the bell icon so you can be notified when I post a new video. And with that, have a good night, and I'll see you later.